Is it rude to start a podcast eating?
Probably not.
We gotta pull that up to your face, bro.
Oh, are we going right now?
Yeah.
So I thought I was just waiting for you. I thought you were waiting for your meal to be done here.
I probably should, but
I'm gonna heat up a little bit of
what do you got? Something.
ground chicken with veggies
nice.
and cabbage. It's like an egg roll in a bowl.
That's your kind of thing, man.
I like it.
Dude, that fridge, you left something in there, and it was unplugged. I opened it the other day. It
What did I leave? What was it?
was like a Tupperware with like some chicken in it.
Oh, really? Oof, bad.
So bad.
Oh, bad.
So I plugged it back in, and it's good. It's okay now.
Okay.
I gotta clean the fridge. I threw the shit out, but gross.
Oh, so
Dude,
bad.
it stunk.
Oh, for sure.
Oh,
For sure.
this is a piece of cheese. Not your thing.
I don't mind cheese. But
You've never had a Baby Bell? This
I
is
don't
like
know.
the most immature thing ever. This is like a kid's snack for school.
oh, really? I just thought I thought they were like really fancy cheeses, like blue cheese.
No,
and
no.
Space cheese.
No, it's
Okay, that's like a mozzarella or
I don't know,
a white cheese. That's
like
doesn't
a white
stick.
cheese.
It's like a cheddar.
Yeah.
A white cheddar. Yeah. Okay, that's okay.
lactose free. This one. You know, as you get
Nice.
older, people can fact check me on this.
Are you
That-
on? Are you on the camera right now?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
I didn't know we were on camera.
Yeah, we're on camera.
Why?
Why not?
We were eating.
I know.
Oh.
That's what I said. Is it
I
rude
was
to
swearing and shit.
I can cut it out. You're
Oh,
fine. I
okay.
do it every
Oh,
time.
Okay. Well, okay.
Are you freaking out?
Well, yeah.
As you get older, you don't have the enzyme. Is it lactase? That breaks down lactose, which is why some people have lactose problems or develop lactose
I
problems.
didn't know that.
That could be. I'm pretty sure that's true, but somebody can fact check me on that. I was talking to Mr. Aaron Wilbur from the coach's site the other day. We had a call about just like some podcast stuff, and they have their coach's site event coming up, which is in Ann Arbor, Michigan, at University of Michigan,
Right.
June 12th to 14th. Do you want to come?
Probably.
Because I'm gonna go.
Yeah, probably.
So we're gonna be there then. I'm for sure gonna be there. I would like you to come.
Okay.
It's 3 days, and we did that one at St. Andrews. That was like, it was awesome, man. It was awesome. Like really well
He's done a
run,
great job with that.
really organized. Even like I know we talked about it after I got back on one of the episodes, but like just the amount of time that each speaker has, that the variety of topics that they cover. It's exactly the kind of thing that I like for our platform, is like connecting people to education on different things to learn about stuff. So I'm super looking forward to it, because that St. Andrews one I thought was sweet, and it's like nothing compared to what they do at this University of Michigan one. Yeah. So Mac went to it. I was going to go last year with Mac. This was even before I met Aaron, or before BioSteel was working with the coach's site at all. But Mac was just like, hey, I'm going to this thing. Do you guys want to go? And I had to go do my HP1 thing for Hockey Canada, so I couldn't go to it. But I would have. So I'm super fired up to go this year. And we're going to do something with Aaron, like for us, like from the podcast, have some kind of a presence there so people can come hang out and see us there too. But I'm just curious to go and watch. They're announcing like the people that are going to be speaking and whatever. So people can check it out on their website, coach's site live.com. They have it's like right on the homepage right there. You can see like the thing to buy tickets to go and check it out. And on their newsletter, they announce like who some of the speakers are going to be, and you can find some more like information on about that. I think we're going to run I was talking to Aaron about running like some kind of contest thing to get people tickets to go and stuff like that too. So I'll have some info on about that, which is pretty cool. But yeah, so I'm just looking forward to that, and I wanted to let people know that we're going to be there. So if you want to come hang out, then that's something that you can do. So
Yeah. I think his podcast is awesome.
yeah, Glassing Out.
Yeah, it's a Glass and Out podcast. Yeah, it's really good. I've actually really enjoyed his podcast. Different. It's all about coaching, obviously, for the most part, and you can learn a lot. So the way I look at it, and I think people probably see that with podcasts a lot now, but like when they do their coaches site, what do you call it? Events. It's like when I was learning stuff in life, like when I was trying to figure life out, I went to a lot of seminars, and I went to places where I can learn. workshops and stuff, and that's what that is for hockey players, like people who are in hockey. And I think if you want to learn hockey, it's like great because you got really good coaches. You're in a network of coaches and stuff like that. I think it's really good for you.
Yeah. So anyways, I just wanted to mention that quick just because I got off the phone with them a couple days ago. So so that's that. Upward and onward.
I can't put a sentence together. You know what I don't like about this podcast space?
The echo, or how it's the Arctic tundra.
No. That's the one. It's so cold.
So cold.
I'm shivering half the time, and I yawn when like you're yawning right now, right? And every time I see a picture, like a video that comes up, it looks like I got beat with a freaking hammer. Yeah, the lighting and all that stuff. It's not my best lighting.
No.
So
shadowy.
I'm a lot better looking than it appears on these videos, I think.
Yeah.
Maybe not though.
You're a good looking man.
Thanks, man.
I like it better in the old PowerTech gym. I like it better in the old PowerTech gym. That was our speed.
That's why I still go out and work out there.
Yeah.
I love it.
I know. It's gritty. It's just gritty. Even here, like the gym we have is beautiful.
It's awesome. But it's not PowerTech.
It's just too nice. Like it's just too nice. I like the gritty. I like when shit doesn't match and there's like I don't know. That's just that's because I grew up working out in a garage probably, but
yeah, I love it.
That garage gym I used to work out in was the best. Did you ever go there? Did you ever go to Jay's house?
Oh yeah.
Dude, what a spot that was. Holy. He had the school field in the backyard, and then everything in the gym, it was like chalky and dirty and a little rusty, and it didn't match, and we had to fix stuff, and we had like makeshift, like I remember we had for to do farmers carries, we had like the 5-gallon water bottles filled with sand, and like we had like it was just gritty. It was just gritty and nice.
You're not spending a ton of money on high-end equipment. You're just using the
man. I remember like seeing like some guys that would go to like the nicer gyms, the facilities.
I go to a nice gym and I feel like a fart in church.
Yeah, that's how I feel. I go in there and I just like don't fit in. Even like at the university, we had to go to the varsity gym.
Yeah.
And they had this other gym. They called it the Dungeon, and it was
I've been in it.
Have you? It was like under the stairs of where the pool is at the university, and it was like not a gym. It was obviously like they put it there because they needed a space. I would like to go. I wanted to be in there. I just like that, whatever. But this episode of the podcast is brought to you by the PowerTech Online Membership Program. If you've been listening to Andy and I wondering, hey, how are they able to get all this podcast content out there? Well, that's because of our members. For just $9.99 a month, you can get access to our online video library, including hundreds of videos of Coach Andy teaching, and have the option for consultation calls with Andy or myself to go over anything you need. We can cover training, nutrition, coaching, parenting, agents, the junior college hockey path, whatever's of interest to you. You'll also be able to participate in our popular Ask Me Anything episodes, have access to special discount codes, and be given priority for any PowerTech in-person camps or events. If you like what we're doing here and you want to support us, this is the best way to do it. Visit powertechhockey.ca/memberships or find the link in the description of this video to learn more. So you were just having a conversation on the phone that I wanted to kind of just touch on because I've been having this as well. You're talking about when guys play or when they keep themselves from playing. So like kind of the question of like playing through an injury or playing through sickness or playing when you're a little banged up or something along those lines kind of thing. And like some of the issues we have with our guys here about just like not coming in for whatever reason, missing games for whatever reason, like being sore or like something hurts or like whatever. And like, I don't know if I'm remembering wrong, but I feel like I never missed anything for stuff like that. And like to sit out of a game, to sit yourself out of a game or to sit yourself out of a practice, like, or as like parents to allow your kid to sit out of games or practices. And I get, maybe it's a fine line between, you're hurt and overdoing it and stuff like that. But like where do you put the line with stuff like that?
Me?
Yeah, you.
Well,
no. Okay, but actual answer, because I know what you would say, but like, what would your actual answer be for your kid? If he's gonna not play a game, like, what is it?
I never had to tell him.
Fair enough.
That's number one. I never had to tell him.
Yeah.
Right? Carter was the same thing. He got concussed one time playing hockey. That's our oldest boy. He's going to have a baby next week. So excited for him. But anyways, I digress. He tough as nails. This kid was tough. Okay, there's a question, right? He's tough as nails. Our daughter Avery is tough as nails. She came home from volleyball one day. We were sitting in the backyard. She went to smash a ball, someone else to smash, and went head to head. When she came home, because I just broke my nose a couple weeks. I was just coming over a broken nose, and so my black eyes were going away, and she came home and her eye was swollen, like, and it was already black and blue, and it just happened. So she had a shiner, and she came home like ow, like she was panicking a little bit, but it like didn't affect her life 1 second. Carter, tough for nails. Christine and I said we don't think he has nerve endings, but it's called being tough. It's called being tough. It's called being tough. Like, because you have a bobo and you got a sniffle and all that stuff, so there's the tough part, and then there's the desire part, and there is a line. Okay, so I'll say it. So with Chooch, it's the same thing. It's like there's been things. We've had calls. He shouldn't play. Please tell him he can't play. Well, you tell him.
Yeah. Good luck.
Get him off the ice. Go for it. Because he's played with some very, very bad injuries that shouldn't have played with, but he played. So, like, what are you going to do? That's the line. He's not coming out of a game unless he absolutely has to. So there's kids like him that have had their bell rung and they see the stars. I'm not saying do this. I'm not telling anybody what to do, but including me, I had that. I got my bell rung in London one night, and blindside hit, and I went to the bench, and there was stars and all that stuff, and I didn't tell someone, like, I see stars. It's like, okay, shake this off and see how the next shift goes. Right? You played, and wouldn't do it for the flu. You'd try, you'd muck it through, you'd hide it as best you can, and until the doctor says, like, your life's. That was with our kids, anyways. This is how I did it. Like, there was one incident in Charlie's junior career, his first year, where the doctor says, no, this is like, he has to. There is no questions, or else it's severe injuries. Right? He played with mono. His spleen was hanging out. He played about 3 weeks with his spleen hanging out, and when we found out that it was mono, they pulled him immediately because you could die. No, but that's about the extent of it.
It is, yeah.
I'm not even trying to joke. That was like, okay, if you die, that's not like, no, you can't go.
You can't go die.
That would be not good for anybody. Yeah. And the last game that we looked at his eyes after the game, we were in the game in Owen Sound, where the boards are like concrete, like it's heavy. There's no give to them and stuff. And he was 15 years old at the time. And he was finishing every hit like boom, boom. And it's like, we're looking back, I go, holy shit. But no one knew because it wasn't diagnosed. Like, and after that game, his eyes were so bad and they just wasn't clearing up. And we're like, dude. So my wife ordered blood tests through the team, and they said, yeah, that's actually what we're going to do. And it came back mono. But it was the ass end of mono. So he went through it for almost a month. Then he had to take a week or two, just before Christmas, where he had to take it off, and then he was good. So he missed some games, but not many, and it killed him. He was, why can't? Okay, so this is the I want to play guy. Can we just put a pad over it? It's like, no, it's not no, it still can die. So and then there's other things that come up, and it's like, and then you'll find other guys that it's like, just I don't feel good today. And to me, it's just like, okay, so going back, I got 3 kids. We got 3 kids. They're all tough. Not because I'm tough, not because my wife's tough. It's because it is because no, because I played with a broken ankle. I played skating around on a broken ankle. It hurts like hell, but I wanted to play. So what you do, you teach your kids to either, is it a major injury or is it pain? Is it pain that you can get through? Is it going to get worse? And you measure it a little bit. And sometimes sometimes you're going to have to take an injury, but I think far too often people, let's not quiet. I think far too often people just think of a bobo or like not feeling good as a reason not to play, and I don't understand it. So
Yeah.
um,
Well, two things on that for me. One,
but sorry, last thing, Crowder came back from the NHL in San Jose with concussion, and he was a mess for a while.
yeah,
That was like
yeah, he was. He
yeah.
was
So it's
foggy,
but
man.
sometimes I wonder, and I'm not playing around with this, but like sometimes I wonder if the protocol is just to be on the safe side, which probably is a good thing. But concussions like that, obviously, you wouldn't want to be playing through that if it makes your life and your life bad or
Well, that was why Proto retired,
yeah.
right?
Oh yeah,
Because
for sure.
his head was
Yeah,
jacked up. I remember
yeah.
he was foggy, man. I remember when he came back at first, he was like a little
He was a
bit
mess.
lights on, nobody home.
Yeah, yeah. He was like
But
forgetting things. It's
yeah, but I remember like, or I guess my thought is, I think of society generally as, on like a pendulum, and like it goes from one extreme to the other. And I feel like right now we're on the opposite end of the extreme where it's like on the one hand you want to be careful and not do something that's going to create long lasting damage,
or do you?
but on the other hand,
Okay, so this is my argument to that, and this is what a kid that either just really loves the game or thinks they won't. This is my one shot. It's Eminem's song, right? You got one shot. How does the rest go? You got one shot, and if it meant if you don't play tonight or this week or this you miss time, then your shot might be gone. That's how some guys look at it. I know one kid in particular that's like that very much that lives with me. I got one chance at this. And if I show weakness or if I show that I'm injured or if I miss a game because of that, like I'm not doing that.
mm-hmm.
Not doing it.
well, like I was saying, I think the where it's at now is more like it's just okay for the kids to have the attitude of like you said, if I'm not 100%, I can't go. And the reality of playing in sports is you're rarely going to feel 100%. You know, like I got guys that miss practices and miss workouts. Oh, like this is really sore. Like this is really sore. I'm like, dude, like I've been sore since I was like 14. You're always sore. Like you're an athlete, man. Something is always going to be sore. Something's going to be tight. Something's going to be not perfect. You're most of the time playing not feeling perfect. Like feeling perfect to go into a game or a competition or something is a rarity, at least from what I know from the guys I've played with and from my own experience. Like you often aren't going to feel great, or you'll feel like a little better than average most of the time, but you're not going to be perfect. And it's like you feel, yeah, my hip's a little tight or my this is a little sore or something like that. It's like you can't not play, man. Right? You can't not play. And
Okay, so here's a thought. It goes back to this. Is it too much hockey? So this is where I think like if you play on a team, if you play on a team where let's not even say a team, you play hockey and you're on the ice all the time and there's no real you, say you play on a team that rolls lines, right? So you're not fighting for your next shift. There's no real competition. You just get to play. Then missing a game, missing a shift, or taking a day off is not. There's no consequences to that, really, right? What about the kid that plays on the spring team? Two spring teams plays on the regular season team, and then they have skills practices in the mornings and all that kind of stuff, and it adds up and adds up. And like, do you think the person that just plays normal hockey, if he misses a game, it's more important to him? I'm not saying more important, but that there's more of a I can't miss.
there's more of a desire to play.
Right.
Right? Yeah. It's
Right.
like you say, if you have steak every night for dinner,
Right.
you don't care about having steak anymore.
Right.
Yeah.
So like that could be another thing, and then it could be like people are careful, and I think maybe it's to a certain degree. My wife, at times was like, he needs to be careful. Well, maybe he shouldn't play. Like there was a couple of injuries. I'm like, he's fine, man. Like he's fine. Like he'll be fine. He'll know. Now, if you have a broken thumb and you can't squeeze your stick, and if you have contact with that hand or thumb, you can't play. So that's legit. I can't play. If you have a sore thumb, like a sprained thumb, or a dislocated thumb that you can pull back out and you can reset it or whatever. I'm not a doctor, by the way. This is old school. You may be able to tape that up and play. It depends on your desire to go through pain. It depends on your desire of how badly you want to play. So like being hurt, like or hurt, is a lot different than being injured. And the injured part is where you actually like a physical, your shoulder came out of your socket, your thumb has been broken, your knee has cracked a kneecap, or high ankle sprains that are bad, like all that stuff. Those are injuries that you need time to heal, or else it'll never get better, or you injure yourself more. Concussions that you're KO'd and your tongue's hanging out.
Well, I remember like when I was a kid playing, I had four more like severe injuries playing my whole hockey career. One was broken arm when I was like 12. I played when there was hitting right away. There was no like wait till you're, Bantam minor now or something. So I was like 11 or 12 or something like that. And I got smoked center ice, broke my arm. When that happened, I knew that one was serious the moment it happened. Like this was different than the other times that I felt something hurts. Other time I got KO'd, I got slew-footed, smashed my head, and I was like out. Like that was the whole stretcher deal. Like I was out on the ice.
You got stretched off?
I was out, dude. I was out. I remember I woke up like face planted on the ice with one of those thermal blankets on me, like on the ice, and my coach's face was like in my face, and I woke up and I was like, "Whoa!" It was one of those.
I've never had that.
I had no idea. So I remembered like getting kicked. It was like I was going back to the bench to change, and we got like crossed paths, and the guy gave me a boot. He booted the back of my feet, and I just went boom. And I remembered that, and then I didn't remember anything else until I woke up, like laying on the ice. So I had to wear a neck brace thing for like it was
big old turtle.
It was ridiculous. So that was 2. Then I had my shoulder, my second year in junior, AC joint, which that was awful. And then I had my knee my last year playing. Those ones, when those happened, I knew something was wrong right away. And I knew that this was going to affect my ability to play. I still played with the AC joint. I still played a little bit with the knee. The broken arm and the concussion, I had to wait. But I missed some time for the knee. I didn't miss any time for the AC joint. But like I knew I was hurt, man. Like I knew that was an actual injury that was going to keep me out, most likely. This other stuff, like I feel like my point is you have a gauge as the player of whether or not you can play. Even from a young age, like even when you maybe don't know the difference, or you can make the argument that you don't know the difference, like something that's serious, you can tell. Like if you got hurt and it's serious, you can tell, and like, I just feel like it's so easy for kids to just sit and not go out. And the parents just enable that, they make sure if anything is off, even a little bit, maybe we should, go get it checked or go get some therapy on it or go this, that, whatever. And it's just like, even with the older guys, like with some of the guys that we have, it's like, how are you just fine to just not play when we've all been through it? Like we've been through it. We've played, we've been through these things. We know what they're feeling and how it is. And it's like, you can play, man. Like you can play. And it's strange to me how easy it is. I feel like we've just swung to the opposite end of the spectrum where, when you played and guys were getting tomahawks in the face and all that stuff, like maybe that was a little extreme. And I feel like we're just on the other side of the extreme. And I think it always kind of goes back and forth. But like, I think we're on the other side of it right now where it's just so easy for guys to not play. And I think it's important to understand that a lot of the time you're not going to feel your best. There's going to be something,
No, you're not. I don't know. I know we're talking the psychology of it almost, but before we do that, I had a nice conversation with Charlie's agent. Said she works out at Matt. He works out at Matt Nichols' gym in Toronto, Paragenics it's called. And he says there's a lady there who's one of his therapists, not mental, physical therapist that works on him that listens to our podcast. I talked to her yesterday. She said she would love to talk to us. So we ended up hooking up, talked to her yesterday, and I didn't send it to you yet. There's a list of things that she would like to talk about. She was on the podcast. It was about injuries. So about injuries, about what is an injury, who should you see, why should you see them, and preventative stuff, aftercare, why a chiro, why an osteo, why a RMT, why all these things. So it's interesting. So we're going to have her on the podcast once, and she would like us to talk about it. And I think she said, like, if you want to just talk about it yourselves, like, I don't know if I'm qualified to do that. So I think I'd rather have her on.
That's actually great because this is the other part, maybe like to play defense for the parents a little bit. He's like, you don't know.
No.
Right?
Parents don't know.
Because like there was one kid I remember this year that, and again, not a doctor, not a PT or whatever. I just have my opinions, but I had one kid that was going to see a chiropractor, and the type of injury, I was like, I don't know that a chiropractor is the type of person to go see for that, So I recommended and I have nothing. I like the chiropractor. I have nothing against chiropractor, but like, I don't think that was the right person to go see. So I said, go see your chiropractor. Like, that's fine, but maybe go see this person and just like ask about it and see if they have a different perspective or whatever. And I think a lot of times parents just, they don't know who the right resource is to deal with the issue. And most people or most professionals that are in that rehabilitation therapy space, if a client comes to them, like, they're going to try to address it. They're not, most of them, I would imagine, are not going to say, hey, like, I can't deal with this, go somewhere else. Like, most of them might feel like they have enough knowledge to be helpful, but even though if it's not really the right person necessarily. So that is a good point. That would be for sure.
Yeah, part
really
of that, like, speaking on to that point is like, talking a couple times, right? And it's like, we were having a conversation with Donnelly one day, and he goes, "You realize like a lot of people have never been punched in the face, eh?" And I'm like, "Ooh," I thought about it. Like, yeah, that's true. A lot of people have never been punched in the face. They don't know what that would ever feel like, right? And I'm not saying that everyone needs to go get a punch. Actually, it's good for you. You should actually get a good punch in the face to realize that if it ever happens in life, like, yeah, it'll straighten you out a little bit or whatever. But anyways, my point to that is, a lot of people don't really understand what it is like to play through pain. And as parents, I get it. As parents, you can be concerned, and there's a fine line. Like, now going kind of getting into this now, is looking at a kid is like, you don't want everything you do for your kid. For the most part, is you want to protect them and save them from pain, right? Like, you don't want to see your kids' feelings get hurt. Like just use the hockey world for one thing. Is you don't want to see your kid get cut. If he gets cut, you want to see him get like let go for a team cut, not cut in the face. If you get released from a team, you hope it's done in the right way, where it's like loving and caring, right? Everything, you want your kids to have a little bit of bubble wrap around them, and I don't mean that in a negative way. You just want to make you really do want them to get through life without having those hurts, right? So anyways, when they're playing on the team, you want to have them to get ice time, and then if they don't get ice time, like, have it explained, and like, I'm really going to work with you. That's what we would like. So when you see your kid go down on the ice, which terrifies me with any of my kids going down on the ice, if they were, and that's why I had a rule when I coached, that if you lay on the ice, it protected me and protected them. If you ever lay on the ice while I'm coaching you, you will not be allowed on the ice again. That's number one. So I guess this sums this up. Number one, you're not allowed on the ice that game, and you're not allowed on the ice until you get a doctor's note. So I did it for a reason. My first reason was because a lot of kids will just lay on the ice. So if you can get up, you're going to get up. If you can't, then there's actually an issue. But I did it. The first reason was for I don't have babies on the ice. Okay. And then if you were hurt, you had to come back with a doctor's note. And I knew that would make it a pain in the ass for the parents.
That's right. Yeah.
It'd be a pain in the ass for the kids, and they'd really question whether they were injured. Guess how many kids laid on the ice that year? 0. Guess how many kids were injured that year? 0. Some of them had hurts, but they didn't, right? So some parents thinking I was a Neanderthal? Yes, but I wasn't. Like, it wasn't. Just don't lay on the ice.
But that's it. It is a good rule of thumb. Like, I was gonna, if you didn't say that, I was gonna say about your rule there, because it's a good way to weed it out.
Yeah,
right? It's a good way to weed it out.
100% was my selfishness, that I didn't want guys looking like flopping on the ice and wasting time and showing weakness and all that kind of stuff. That's me. Then the side benefit that I knew would happen is that they're actually safer. If you tell me that you got you think that you broke your arm or you got a sore leg, then I think you need to get it checked out if it hurts this much that you can't get up. So then if there was something, they come back and they said, the doctor said, no, he's good to go. Or the doctor say, yeah, he's can't play until you can. It clears a lot of things. So that's the thing is I'm saying with this is that a lot of times kids don't know. Parents don't know. You protect them, right? And I'm not carving parents that do that to a certain degree. I'm not. You take care of your kids. I get that, but like, there's certain injuries that you can be overcautious, is what I'm saying. So, so my thing is, if you haven't played sports, you haven't been around sports, and you haven't challenged, you went to lengths to figure out what is toughness and what is an injury and what is a little bit of pain. Like for you in jiu-jitsu, like if you were to take me right now and put me in an arm bar and start going, I would probably tap out a hell of a lot sooner than you, because I'd think my arm is going to break. Whereas you would know that, no, that's like, I haven't even put pressure yet, right? So you learn how to tolerate pain and what is pain and what's and it's when you're young, it's okay. You're gonna think that you're gonna die.
But that rule though is good, especially for the younger kids, because it's a good way for the kids to figure out where their line is, right? And it's not a perfect rule, so just for people that are gonna yell, like, it's relax. But like, if the kid can get up and they can get themselves off the ice, they will do that because they know the rule, and like that, I think that helps them to figure out in their head. They have something to measure against. It's like, okay, can I get up and get off the ice? Whereas if you don't have that rule, they won't even think of that. It's like, this hurts, I'm going to lay here until it starts to feel better, even if it has no, there's no reason why they can't just get up, And so I think that is actually something that's helpful, particularly in youth hockey, when kids are trying to figure it out. Maybe they don't have a good framework, right?
I'll just go back to this though. Like, I'll just use myself for an example. Like, when I played, like I said, I played on a broken ankle. Couldn't walk, but I figured out how to skate, a hobble. And like, was that smart? Probably not, because it affected me later. Probably not. But what was the purpose of that? The purpose was that because I had to make this work. But like, hockey was my dream. I didn't want to miss a game or a practice or whatever. And pain was one of the side effects of trying to be a professional hockey player, right? So I saw other guys get their nose smashed in front of me and get stitched up and come right back out with Kenny McRae. Listen to this. We're playing back when actually the Guelph Storm used to play when they used to be the Toronto Marlies. So we used to play at Maple Leaf Gardens. Kenny McRae was coming down the ice, grabbing a puck, got hit at center ice so hard, and he got straight to the nose. Hit straight to the nose and chest. Like, everything was his nose, his chest. His nose splattered. His visor was pure red. His stick hit the clock at the Maple Leaf Gardens, and Kenny was tough as nails. And he came off like, wow, wiped this thing off, shoved gauze in his nose, and he came out bleeding everywhere. Broken nose, like, it was bad. Like, his visor, that was his visor. It was like gross. And this guy just continued to play. Right? Why was I saying that?
You were talking about before you brought up the Kenny thing. What were you saying? You played on a broken ankle.
I saw other guys do it too, and it's like, but this is before Kenny did it. But I was like, this is what guys are willing to do, and if you're going to be tough, you got to be tougher than that. If you're going to be a good player in hockey, you can't compare yourself to guys that are average. You got to compare yourself to, or you got to look at where I need to be. It's like if you play in the OHL right now, and you look at your peer group, your 05 group, and I've got this many goals, and he's got this many goals. It's like, okay, that's not who you're going to be playing against in the NHL. If you want to play, you got to be a lot better than that. So it's like, if you want to be tough, you got to be a lot tougher than that. So I look at around and say, okay, if he can do that, I can do this. So anyways, but my desire was, I wanted to be a hockey player, and there was nothing that would really stop me from practicing, from playing. And you would actually have to tear a limb off to make me do that. And the guys that really, 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 really want to be there, they don't show those injuries, right? So I had another point to this, and I forget what it was. So I think that's what it is when you look at players. Well, yeah, that's what I was going to say. So you look at moms and dads that go to work every day. It's like, kids are susceptible to getting flus and colds and all that kind of stuff. I get it. But why would a kid miss school? It's because he doesn't really want to go, right? In like a normal school, it's a way that I don't have to go. I don't want to. The pain of going to school is just a pain in my ass. So I'm gonna fake a sickness today. I did it, but mom and dad will go to work. We go to work. We don't miss work. How come? Well, why is that? Because the reason that you go to work supersedes the feeling of it hurts a little bit. So a dad can get hammered the night before and wake up with a hangover that you wouldn't believe and sleep for 2 hours, but he can make it to work and get through it and gets through it. A dad that works at the steel mill could have, or the Chrysler plant here in Windsor, could have shoulders that they don't work anymore, but they manage to get to work because they need the paycheck. They need to feed their family. So they go in there and they put the nut on the thing and they do it for 40 years. And then when they're older, they can't move their shoulders, but they do it because that needs to be done. And I think if you have the desire that your plan A, I was just talking to kids the other day about there's no plan B in your plan A, in your A game. It's a book I read. It was awesome. Is when it's actually your plan A, then not a whole lot gets in the way. If it's not really plan A, then a sore elbow will keep you out of a game or a practice, right? But if it's your plan A, then you're gonna go through it, and because there's nothing else that matters. And I'm not saying every hockey player should be plan A. Like if you're playing for, a double B team and anyways, you're playing for a double B team and you're not a very good hockey player. It's not your A game, but like your desire to play might be different. But anyways, yeah. Anyways.
Interesting. I keyed in on something you said last week that I thought was interesting. And I want to see if we can, explore it here. So one of the things you said, or you were talking about last week, and what did we talk about last week? I forget. What were we talking about last? What was the topic last week? Anyways, doesn't matter. You were talking about how in junior there's like a meritocracy thing, which I think the maybe more correct word, not necessarily.
The word it's arbitrary.
It's not, but it's okay. Okay, wait. This is what I want to dissect. Okay, you're talking about meritocracy.
Yes, I don't know if that was the right word.
No, which would mean that like the best person gets the job.
Okay,
right?
it was wrong.
I think what you're talking about more is like seniority, right? So, but there's some of both, which is like this is kind of what I want to talk about, right? So so I get the example that you were kind of giving is like a first year player or a second year player, even if they're the better player or maybe they deserve a little bit more than they're getting. There's two ways of thinking about it. The one way of thinking about it is more like seniority, where there are older guys that have been here longer, and even though maybe you're better, they still get to go first. That would be like seniority.
That's one way, yeah.
The other way is the meritocracy way, where even though you're playing well and maybe you deserve more and whatever, there are other guys that are also playing well and maybe deserve what they're getting, and they're older, which would be more like there's a meritocracy there a bit
with
where
the
it's
seniority.
Like, yeah, right.
Combo.
So it's a little bit of both.
Yeah.
And then you do have just like the pure meritocracy a little bit too, where it's like the kid that is a first year player, like the one that pops in mind is like Michael Misa with Saginaw. He was an underage, got drafted, and like right away he's like PP1, like getting all this opportunity and all this stuff, right? And there's certain reasons for that. So I guess my first question is how much of that, or how much of seniority versus meritocracy exists at the junior level, and then how do you feel like that plays in at the youth level? So it makes more sense to me at the junior level. It makes more sense in pro. It makes more sense when there's a large swath of ages, college, whatever. But in the kind of youth circuit, there's no real seniority. But you could make the argument on like the meritocracy side about some kids get a little bit more than other kids. So like, what are a little bit of, I guess, thoughts on that concept of like that meritocracy piece, youth hockey versus junior seniority stuff? Because I think sometimes coaches apply some of those concepts to youth hockey, which they don't really work there necessarily. And I'm seeing that a little bit with some of the kids like on our teams and how they think about stuff. So start with that, and then I'll tighten it up as we go.
So from a youth level of hockey, I think that you can do anything you want, but I think you have 3 lines or less. So I don't think you can't. How am I saying this? You can't. It's almost not impossible, but it's hard to not play. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's hard to sit there and say, like, you don't get this, because this guy's better. It's just hard to do that because I think anyways, that there's only 3 lines. Like, you kind of have to have everybody playing, and they should be playing. But I'm not saying it has to be equal, fair, whatever the words are. I think everyone has to play. So, because there's only 15 guys on a team. So, kind of have to play. Do I believe that in youth hockey that there should be, if you're better, you play more? Like, yeah, a little bit. But you have to roll lines to develop kids and just to get through the game. And then it depends on a philosophy, if you're all about winning or if you're about developing. If you're all about winning, I'm not saying this is right or wrong. If you're all about winning, then you would be using a meritocracy, right? Where you're playing your best players in most situations. If it's about developing, then that goes out the window. So I think the youth level, it's all out you throw it out the window.
Out the wazoo.
Out the wazoo. Yeah.
Okay, so
that's what I think.
I'm gonna be like a little bit scattered because I don't have like a clear. Normally when we have topics, like I have a clear point in my head that I want to make sure we get to, and I don't have a clear point when we're talking about this stuff because I just kind of want to like discuss it, and I don't really know what I think about it. So another thing we kind of talked about is like, and what you kind of alluded to there is like moving up the ladder a little bit. So if we stick more in the youth hockey thing, because in junior and up, there's a little bit more of a natural progression to it where, by the time you're second year, third year, fourth year, you should be getting a little bit more as you go if you improve accordingly, right? And some guys don't, and they end up staying as third, fourth line. They don't really get that increase. But on average, like you'll probably get a little bit more by your third, fourth year if you're an overage, whatever. So if we keep it focused on more like the youth hockey stuff, what move up the ladder to me would mean is that year over year playing AAA, let's say at the highest level, or jumping from AA to AAA, how do you go from being a guy that is maybe a bottom end player to getting opportunity where you're more of a top end player? Like that would be kind of like the ladder that I'm referring to in youth hockey. And for me, like as a coach, you want the most amount of players to get better. Even if you're winning focused, it's just better for your team if more guys are better. But there's a bit of a finesse to being able to do that as the coach. So if you have your top guys and you have your bottom guys, trying to get your bottom guys to catch up without having your top guys get pissed off or bored or whatever, whether that's mixing up lines or the way you practice things or giving certain guys opportunities to be on like power play, special teams, or whatever it is, that stuff takes a little bit of skill as a coach. That's where like it's more of an art being a coach, being able to do that kind of stuff, especially in a more of a development focused place like youth hockey. But I guess my question is when you're talking about trying to move up in the youth hockey system or when you're playing on a youth hockey team, what are like some of the ways that, I guess if you're the parent of a child that is in that situation, because I've had some of these conversations with parents, like how do you get your kid to get those kind of opportunities where they could go from being a lower end player to a higher end player? Because that happens. And outside of just like the natural progression of kids getting better over time, like what does it look like to be able to do that, to like actually start to become, a lower end guy and turn into more of a high end player and getting those kind of opportunities? Does that kind of make sense?
Yeah. It probably don't have the best answer though, because I think the first answer would be sometimes you have a coach that refuses to see that this guy could ever get better. You'll get that. You'll have coaches that are youth coaches that just maybe don't get it. But my answer to that would be like, typically, this is going to sound like almost counter what we say a lot of the times, but it's just the truth. Typically in youth hockey, if you are a good player and you are improving, you are probably getting more points. True. So you're probably setting up more plays. You're probably, making more moves, getting like one-on-one moves or one-on-two moves because it's a riskier game anyways. And you're probably just increasing those offensive chances because it's a little bit better, means the league's probably a little bit easier at the youth level, right? I remember the day that it was like, for me actually as a player, where I was always a really good player, but then I realized that, I think it was minor bantam, like hockey's actually easy. Like I could actually take shifts off and still produce. That's when that's anyway. So the thing is that if you're probably around the puck a heck of a lot more when you start moving up, and then it's like, so how do you move up like from a third line to a second or a first? I don't know if there's a real such thing like that in minor hockey, but if there is, I just think when you're around the puck more and you're making more plays, I think that's where you earn it, and it's up to the coach to give that to you to play with different players.
So then maybe just to roll into a little of the controversial territory, what or how do you think about like like personal connections and favors and how they play into that kind of stuff in youth hockey? For example, we were just talking a little while back to an agent who's got a player that is looking for a place to play next year, and the agency was saying, hey, like maybe this would be a good spot for you. And the reason they picked that spot is not necessarily because it's the best spot. It's like, we know some people that are there and we think they'll take good care of you and do a good job with you there. Now, on the one hand, you can look at that as like politics, and they're just doing a favor for their buddy that is there, and they're trying to get them the best players so they have the best team and whatever, and they're not necessarily looking out for the best interest of that player. They're just doing what's is good for them. On the other hand, it could be, hey, I have trusted resources in this system that I know will do a good job. And like, maybe there's another place that would also do a good job, but I just know when I'm familiar with this one, and this is the one that I would recommend you go to. So depending on which hat you want to wear, it can look like a favor, a personal connection, bullshit, politics, whatever. Or it's like, no, that actually just makes sense because they feel like they have people there that they trust that will do a good job. So it just kind of depends on which hat you want to look at. But what role do you feel like that plays with more so in the youth hockey stuff? But I guess that would even work.
Well, in the youth hockey side, I would say probably all of the above. Like all those situations, they're probably there. But my biggest question with that statement is, I don't understand why there would be one youth player in this world that would need an agent to set up a. I don't understand why that would be a thing.
Well, most kids, dude, I'm telling you, like, even doing this recruiting stuff, like, we're talking 2011s, 2012s. They already have them, and like a lot of them, and most of the higher end guys have them. So like, when did Eki get his agent? He would have been 13, no?
His draft year.
He didn't get till his draft year. Really?
Because but
he was also a year younger in his draft.
Yeah,
year.
But still, that was reasonable. He's getting drafted, and that year.
But he would have been 14.
He would have been 14, 15. So that year, because there was an agent that I was going to introduce him to, and then he goes, I would, Andy, but I just met with Bob Orr's group, and that's what I'm going to go with. It was that like middle of the season of his draft year, or near the end, and that was a guy that was going first overall for sure, exceptional status. So that was that. But I don't see any reason why a kid would have an agent I don't understand.
Nonetheless.
So yes, people nowadays more than ever, I think they have connections, and then I agree with that. More and more that's happening.
Like, how much do you feel like that plays a role and like impacts a kid's ability to like move up the ladder, so to speak, or to position themselves in a?
Well, yeah, okay. So if you got, if you send me someone and we have a relationship, and you send me someone and the kid happens to be okay or pretty good, like I want the relationship. Probably, I don't do this shit, so I don't know. But I would want this relationship to go well, I think, and I would trust you first of all that you're sending me a pretty good player, and then you would trust that I'm going to take care of him a little bit. So yeah, I think it would make a difference. Like if he did maybe a little bit less or did a little bit to earn something, you might give him. I don't know. I'm not that guy. It makes sense. Yeah, it makes sense that people. Well, okay, so I remove myself from the situation. I look at it. There's a lot of people out there that do favors to get favors, right? So yes, I think that plays a role, but I don't know if it's as much as you would think. I don't know. Being honest, I don't know.
And this is kind of why I said at the start, like I'm a little all over the map because I don't really know what I think about it either. I'm just kind of discussing it. Like, I guess my thing is like, it's so spoken of like it's bad, like there's just negative connotation. So if I give that example of my the agent that I work with, or my dad's friend, or a kid I played spring hockey with, whatever, knows this guy, and I'm going to go skate with this guy now, or I'm going to go onto this team now because of that guy, and it's for some reason advantageous to you as a player. Like, people on the outside looking in, like, there's just there seems to be, majority of the time, not always, just a negative about that.
Yeah.
It's like politics bullshit.
Yeah.
It's all about who you know.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like all
Yeah.
the,
I see
and,
what you're
and
saying.
it's like I see the argument, like I understand the argument, but if I have a kid who I think is a good player, and I say, hey, I know this guy who's a really good coach, go play with that guy instead of going to play here. Like, is that bad? Like, I don't know that, you know what I mean? Like, you see what I'm saying?
I do. Yes. Well, now that I think in Ontario, there's open borders, so you can go play wherever you want. So I think you see a lot more of that kind of stuff. No, I don't know if it's good. I don't know if it's bad. I think it can be. I don't know. Yeah, it can be both. Like it's one of those things. Like it depends, right? That's one of those questions. It depends. Like are you going to play for someone else? Like here's the thing. Like when you try to control your destiny too much, I don't know if it's always the best thing. So like for example, kids that come in, and I understand this, so I do. Kids that so we were just talking youth hockey. We talked junior and pro. Like in junior hockey, like there might be reasons why you don't want to go to a certain city. So like for example, if you live here in Windsor, Ontario, it's the most southern part of Ontario, but also the most southern part of Canada. And if you, for some reason, didn't want to go play for North Bay, Sudbury, Sioux, Ottawa, Kingston, because it was 8 hours away, and your parents were like, "No, I don't want them to move." Like it's a reason, but when people but you're still tempting your destiny and your fate, because you don't know if getting drafted to the Sudbury Wolves and playing there is the best thing that could ever happen to you, because maybe it's a perfect coach for you, or you only will go to certain teams and you play that game a little bit, and it's like it sounds good, but maybe that coach is totally wrong. Maybe there's a lot of things that go good and bad. So I think for me, just for me, there it would be, and this is how we approach it. Like I talked to my kid when he was in his draft year and stuff, and it's like, what if this team drafted? He go, I'm going. Why? Because I want to play hockey. So that was his thing. So it was like, for as parents, it would have been, oh, I don't want you to go to Ottawa. I don't want you to go to up north because it's just too far. It's hard for us to get to. It's selfish, right? But for him as a hockey player, it's like, it's if I get drafted to the worst team, so be it. If I got drafted to the best team, so be it. Like whatever happens, happens. I'm not gonna piss around with that because it's too many variables that you can't control, right? So I just think that's one of those things. Like when you try to control everything, I think that's where you almost kind of lose control. If that makes sense.
That's definitely a thing I see now. Is
Yeah.
there's so many
Because not everything's going to go your way,
no matter what you do.
no matter what you do.
No matter
And
what you do.
sometimes that's so. That was my long way of saying, like, I don't know, man. It's like sometimes there's so many things at play. Like first of all, you have to be a really good hockey player. Like if you're moving on anywhere, you got to be a really good hockey player. What does that mean? There's different answers to that, but like you will know a good hockey player when you see them. And if you're one of them, God bless you. That's awesome. And then, you know, if everybody was to do this and just say you have to play in the best team, best organization, then London Knights would be in the OHL would be the team that everyone would say that's the only team I'm going to play for. And is it because they have good coaching? 100%. Good scouting? 100% to do everything right. But for some kids, that's not the place to play. I've seen a lot of kids go in that program. It's like, no good. That didn't work for them. Had success somewhere else or didn't have success anywhere else. But I've seen some move and have success. I've seen some not cut it in London and not have success, like both. But you don't know how the future is going to go until you get there. And then the last thing is, like I said in a couple podcasts ago, is like, I don't think people have enough adversity. I really don't. And sometimes with we look at some kids and I go, you think enough is enough, but it just keeps coming. But they end up being tougher, man. They keep being tougher and better, and you got to deal with it, because at some point you're going to have to deal with this stuff anyways. So I don't know, the connection thing can be helpful sometimes, I guess.
Yeah, like unless you're just like a super standout, which is that's more the rarity. There's people say this a lot of times, like there's you have good timing or bad timing, like you're there, right place, right time, and like it's just like part of how things happen. Like it's not good or bad, or it doesn't have to be good or bad. It can be either good or bad, but it doesn't have to always be good or bad. But it's people citing it as the reason why something worked or didn't work. It's like, well, because your dad was the only reason why you got this, or you probably have had that. You have
I told my son, I'm your biggest. I wrote this in a journal the other day for him. So sometimes I just feel like I'm your biggest enemy.
Yeah, for sure. Or
not because I'm not the one helping you. It's because who wouldn't want to take a stab at me? Like if I make them jealous a little bit, right?
Yeah, and
I've seen it.
Yeah, so it could go from that to you played your draft year on the Marlies. That's the only reason you got drafted, or whatever. And it's I think my point of talking about it this way is like maybe just to put a different light on it. Like it's not necessarily a good or bad thing that like there was a favor somewhere or a connection that was made somewhere, or what. It doesn't have to be this is bullshit politics and this is what's ruining my kid's chance because this kid got a favor done. Like, come on, man. I think that's part of it. And then my last thing was just, what do you do, like, with all that stuff considered, or what advice would you give to a parent or a kid if they're in a position on a team where they feel like they're being overlooked? So like, let's say you have, let's say you're a hardworking kid, or maybe you're better than, you think you're better than they think you are. Like another one I get, or we talked about this the other week too. It's like, well, if they give him a chance, right? If they give him a chance to be on the power play, or if they give him a chance to play on top six or the top line, or if he could play with this kid, or then he would probably do a little bit better. And so, what advice do you give to kind of that?
Yeah, it'll be always the same advice. What was the question though?
Yeah, if you feel like you're getting overlooked,
if you're getting
whether you're the kid or the parent.
Yeah, it's that one of those things where that's the adversity part, and it's like you might be getting over, like you might be 100% right, and the worst thing you could do when you're getting overlooked is tell yourself how you're getting overlooked, and go to your mom and dad and cry about it and shit in your diaper and sit in it for 3 weeks. That's the worst thing you could do. The thing that you could do is just to show them that you're not going to get overlooked ever again. It might take you a day, it might take you a week, it might take you a month, and that's just the honest to goodness truth. I promise you this, like there's not one, well, not one. I promise you this, you go to a hockey game and you watch it, go to OHL where it's not fair hockey anymore, OHL college or whatever, and when you watch your kid play, I guarantee you're going to say that your kid deserves more of a chance. And what if, and what if, and what if, and you'll do this all day. And I don't know if people have enough conversations about, like, when the kid comes out, or when you're looking at your kid saying, you're getting screwed or you're getting overlooked. That could be part of the conversation, but immediately after those words is like, what are you going to do about it to change it? Because that's what your kid actually needs to hear. He doesn't need to hear that he doesn't need to hear that he's getting screwed. He doesn't need to hear that. He needs to find solutions to not get screwed if he is getting screwed. And he needs to learn that maybe he's just not good enough in someone else's eyes, and that's okay. And maybe you work your nuts off for that whole year, and you don't get rewarded once for it, but you're doing something about it, right? So because that's actually, as you move along the hockey ladder, with the exception of a very, very few people, that's actually what it is. If you do not perform for one shift, you might get sent down to another line. Some guys, if you don't perform in a practice, you don't get to dress. So you're always in a competition with yourself and with other people, but with yourself. So if you're getting overlooked, the question is what can I do differently? So ask the questions, like, it's not about necessarily score more goals. That's not necessarily what it is. It could be part of the equation, But it's like, what can you do to make an impact of the game so that you're not overlooked? Well, I know some guys will never get overlooked because they laid 6 hits out or 8 hits out in a game where they never really came for it. If you do that and it's not really part of your game, or it's part of your game that you haven't been using as much, if you go and bang 6, 8, 10 bodies in a game with no regard for anything, what happens, or you do it just to create energy, you will not get overlooked. You might not get rewarded, but you will be noticed. That's all you're looking for. You're looking for someone to look and say, okay, wow. If you back check your ass off, it could be the wrong type of back check, but your effort level looks like you want to get back, that you care so much, and then you disrupt a puck or you take a body or whatever, then you might not get compensated for that effort immediately, but you're going to get noticed. You're going to get not necessarily rewarded, but you're going to get noticed. You might get a tap on the back. Might not change a whole lot, but those are some of the things that you can control, right? You stick up for a teammate. If you start making yourself noticeable, then you become whatever the word was you used, that you become noticed, right? Like, you can't bury, like, you might not be the best player, but you're being noticed. And then with that, you just keep fighting and getting better and try to take one person's spot, one person's shift. If you do that, you've succeeded. But the biggest problem is that a lot of people look at the negative side, and we all feel like we're getting buried at some point and we could be better than someone else. And it's like, you might be right, but you have to prove that to other people, not just to, sitting in your car or talking to your family saying, yeah, but you're getting screwed. You can't do it. You have to fight for your ice. And it might take, like I said, it might take a day, it might take a week, might take a year, might take 3 years. But if you do the things the right way and you fight through it, and you will get noticed. You just will. Right? And it's like, so you do it within the game, you do it within practices, you show up early. Like, there's a lot of things. It's not the ass kissing. It's like, I'm going to take care of things. I'm going to get better. So it might be shooting pucks. Like, maybe that's what it is. Maybe it's in the gym a little bit more, and you just are getting stronger. It's not so the coach sees, oh, he's in the gym, he's really serious. Because if that's what you're doing it for, that's not going to work, because you're not actually serious. You're doing it for attention. You actually have to have that quiet determination where I'm going to go to the gym and I'm going to, I'm going to actually work really hard, and I'm going to do an extra whatever on the bike, whatever it is for yourself to get better. And that's how you get better. You can't wallow in your misery.
Yeah, I think if you get a notice,
you just can't. It's like I got a bobo, can't play. This is what it all comes down to, right? Maybe that's what it is. You got a bobo, you can't play, like we started off this podcast. So do you have a bobo? Or is it an injury? Maybe you fight through it. Just do it, man.
Yeah,
just do something to make people talk about you.
I think you get noticed enough times, someone will give you a chance somewhere along the way. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I think that's what it's about.
Like, trust me on this. So going back to the meritocracy thing that we were talking about, it's like there's some junior teams, especially guys get paid to coach, right? The owners get paid to win, lose, build a business. So there's some coaches that no matter what you do as a 16, 17-year-old guy, you almost, not always, but several times, you're not going to take the third line center away from their third line because he's a year older, he's been here a year younger. Some guys just operate that way. Next year will be your year you can do it when you're 18 or 17. That's how some guys do it. And there's nothing you can do, and you could, but that doesn't mean that you shouldn't continue to work your ass off, because there's lessons within that lesson, right? And then, like, it's teaching you, no matter what I do, the coach will not reward me. And that might be the case for if you play in the NHL, if you play wherever you play, but that might be the case that you always get that coach. You just never know. You might always have that coach. This is my 1, 2, 3. You're always going to be number 4 or 3 or whatever. But if you do the work, unless you don't do the work, you'll never know. And then you might go to a coach where they're in love with you, but you all have good habits and all that kind of stuff. So it's just, you got to just do stuff, man. Don't cry about it.
No, yeah, man. It's I think that's kind of the one, a common thing that being overlooked, or if you were to get a chance or whatever, it's something that most people will struggle with at some point. So I think it's good to at least talk about like some of the mindset around it, because you can get into the pity party thing like you're talking about and just
easiest thing to
really
do.
not recover from it, So
yeah, that's one of the things that parents should really, as hockey parents, I'm not telling you how to be a parent in other fields, but in hockey, when kids really want to do it, and I think it's just a good test in life, is like when test them when it comes to the adversity part, or when things don't go their way. It's one of the best things you can do, is make them realize that they're either going to work through that or they're not, and they're going to be better for working through it, right?
Yep. Beauty. Okay, I'm good. Are you good? Sweet. Okay. Until next week.